Ladies and gentlemen, there are moments in life, deep, pressing, heavy moments when you find yourself crying out to heaven and hearing nothing but stillness. You pray, and the only sound you hear is your own voice echoing in the emptiness. You look for a sign, a whisper, a word, and there is none. And in that silence, your heart begins to question, God, where are you? But I came to tell you today that just because God is silent does not mean He is absent. His silence does not mean His love has diminished. His silence does not mean He's forgotten your name. His silence is not a sign of abandonment. It's a signal of trust. Oh yes, there is something divine happening in that silence. You see, we serve a God who often works in the background while we're looking for the spotlight. He moves in secret when we expect Him to show up in public. He may not speak, but He is present. Let me tell you something. When a teacher gives a test, they don't talk during the exam. The silence doesn't mean the teacher is gone. It means the teacher is watching, observing, trusting that you've learned what you needed to know to pass through this part of your journey. God's silence is not a punishment. It's an invitation to trust what He already spoke before He stopped speaking. Some of you are in a season where the noise has faded. The doors seem shut. The prayers seem unanswered. And the enemy is trying to convince you that you've been abandoned. But don't you dare buy that lie. God's silence is not rejection, it's reflection. He's reflecting on the timing, the positioning, the purpose. And when the moment is right, He will step in. Not a second too late. Don't mistake the quiet for a lack of care. Don't misread the silence as indifference. Sometimes the silence is the very evidence of God's love. Because if He gave you what you asked for too soon, it would crush you. If He opened the door before you were ready, it would destroy you. His silence is protection. His silence is preparation. It takes a mature faith to walk with God in the quiet. Babies cry for noise and attention, but warriors walk through the valley with silence and confidence. They know just because I don't hear Him doesn't mean He left me. He promised never to leave me nor forsake me, and He doesn't break promises. So if you're in a silent season, hold on, lean in, keep praying, keep praising, keep walking, because the silence is not the end. It's the space before the breakthrough. It's the stillness before the shout. It's the hush before the harvest. God is there, in the silence, working, watching, loving, always. We live in a world that worships speed, fast answers, quick results, overnight miracles. And when things don't happen in our time, we start to panic. We assume that because it didn't come quickly, it's not coming at all. But let me tell you something, God is not on your schedule. He doesn't rush. He doesn't hurry. He doesn't respond to pressure. Delay is not denial. Some of you have been waiting on a promise for years, waiting for healing, waiting for breakthrough, waiting for your family to change, waiting for the doors to open. And the longer it takes, the more you wonder if God even heard you. But I came to declare over your life today, just because it's delayed doesn't mean God said no. Delay is not denial, it's divine timing. See, we think that because God didn't show up immediately, He isn't going to show up at all. But what if the delay is the blessing? What if the delay is where He's preparing the miracle to meet you fully matured? If He gave it to you too soon, you wouldn't be able to carry it. If He opened the door before you were ready, it would crush you. So He holds it, not because He's punishing you, but because He's protecting you. Let's go back to Lazarus. Mary and Martha sent word that their brother was dying, and Jesus waited. He didn't rush to heal. He didn't show up in time to save. By the time he got there, Lazarus was already gone. And they said, "Lord, if you had been here." Isn't that what we say? God, if you had just answered last year, if you had just opened the door last month, if you had just stepped in before the marriage broke. But hear this, he didn't come to prevent the situation. He came to resurrect it. What you thought was over, God is about to raise. What you thought was lost, God is about to restore. What you thought he denied, he simply delayed because he wanted to show you that he's not just a healer. He's the resurrection and the life. Sometimes he waits so that when he moves, no one but him can get the glory. Sometimes he waits so you'll stop depending on your own strength. Sometimes he waits until the grave is sealed, the mourners have cried, and hope is buried. Then he speaks life. You've got to stop confusing silence with a closed case. God is not finished. The ink is still wet. The story is still being written. Don't lose your faith in the waiting room. Don't abandon your hope in the hallway. Delay is not God saying no. It's God saying, not yet. I've got something better, something bigger, something that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. So stand still. Don't walk away. Don't throw in the towel. What's been delayed is still on the way. And when it comes, it will be worth every tear, every prayer, every silent night. Hold on. God's timing is perfect. Anybody can praise God when the bills are paid, the body is healthy, and the path is clear. It doesn't take much faith to shout when everything's going your way, but real faith, mature faith, deep, tested, unwavering faith, that's revealed in the silence. That's born in the fire, that's proven in the dark. When God stops talking, do you stop trusting? See, there comes a time in every believer's life when the noise dies down, the signs dry up, and all you've got left is a word he gave you before the silence started. And the question becomes, will you hold on to what he said when he's not saying anything now? Can you walk by faith when there's no confirmation, no validation, no applause? We often think that faith grows in the miracle, but I'm here to tell you it grows in the mystery. The silence is not meant to break you, it's meant to build you. That silence is where spiritual muscle is formed. That silence is where your roots dig deeper. That silence is where your shout becomes sincere. Because when you've praised God with no promise in your hand, when you've worshipped through the tears, when you've kept walking without hearing a yes, that is faith. Look at Abraham. God gave him a promise, told him he'd be the father of many nations, and then God went quiet. Nothing. No follow-up, no signs, just silence. And year after year, Abraham had to decide, do I still believe what he said? Do I still trust the voice that spoke, even though it hasn't spoken again? And the Bible says Abraham did not waver through unbelief, but he was strengthened in his faith. Oh, let me tell you, some of you are being strengthened in the very place you thought you were being abandoned. You're being fortified while you feel forgotten. You think you're being overlooked, but God is building something unshakable inside you. He's testing your trust. He's developing your depth. Anybody can serve God when he's loud, but can you still serve him when he's silent? There's something about trusting God with no sign, no sound, no visible reason. That makes hell tremble, because the enemy expects you to fold in the silence. He expects you to walk away. But when you stand in the middle of that quiet storm and say, God, I don't understand, but I still trust you. That's when you're dangerous. That's when you become unshakable. That's when you grow beyond feelings and into faith. So don't let the silence shake you. Let it sharpen you. Don't let it weaken your faith. Let it reveal it. The silence isn't your defeat. It's your development. Hold on to what he said, even when he says nothing. Walk by what you know, not by what you feel, because faith isn't proven in the sound. It's proven in the silence. There is a difference between being ready in your mind and being ready in your spirit. You may think you're ready for the blessing, for the breakthrough, for the promotion. But God sees beyond what you say. He sees your capacity. And sometimes the reason for the silence, the reason for the wait, the reason things haven't shifted yet is because God is preparing you for the weight of what's coming. Because what He's about to place on your life can't sit on a shallow foundation. The silence is where that foundation is dug deep. You see, we love to shout about purpose, destiny, and overflow, but not many want to talk about the process. The hidden years, the seasons where nobody's calling your name, the moments when your prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling. But I came to tell you, that's where the real work is being done. In the silence, in the shadows, in the quiet corners of your life where nobody sees and nobody claps. God is shaping you there. It was in the wilderness where Moses learned how to lead. It was in the prison where Joseph's character was forged. It was in the field where David's heart was refined. And it was in the silence of the desert that Jesus was tested before he ever performed a miracle. Don't despise your silent season. Don't resent the delay. God is working in the soil of your soul. He's digging out pride. He's stretching your patience. He's toughening your skin. He's deepening your roots so the fruit can last. You don't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation. The higher the calling, the deeper the digging. Some of you are asking God for elevation, but you haven't allowed Him to finish your excavation. You want the palace, but God's still preparing your character in the prison. And if He gave it to you too early, it would destroy you. You would mishandle the platform. You would break under the pressure. So He says, not yet. And the silence speaks louder than any word. Wait, grow, trust me. Let me tell you, it's in the silence that your worship becomes real. When you have to praise Him without results, when you have to serve Him without recognition, when you have to obey Him without a visible reward, that's when heaven leans in and hell backs up, because the devil expects you to quit when it gets quiet. But if you can keep showing up, keep believing, keep pressing, then you're becoming unbreakable. So don't rush what God is preparing. Don't curse the silence, lean into it. Let Him stretch you, let Him build you, let Him cut away what can't go with you into the next level. Because when the silence breaks and the door opens and the answer comes, you won't just receive the blessing, you'll be ready to carry it. Sometimes the silence doesn't mean you're forgotten. Sometimes it means you're trusted. Yes, I said it. Trusted. There are moments when God steps back, not because He's punishing you, not because He's distant, but because He's confident in what He's placed inside of you. He doesn't have to speak every second when He knows you'll walk by what He already said. Silence to some feels like abandonment, but to the mature, it's a compliment. God is saying, I know you won't quit just because you can't hear me. I know you'll keep going even when I don't send a sign. You see, when a parent is always hovering over a child, it's because they don't fully trust that child to handle things on their own. But when a child begins to grow, when the parent starts stepping back, it's because they believe that child can stand on what they've already been taught. That's how God treats those He's maturing. If He's not speaking every moment, it's because He trusts you to remember what He already said. Some of you are in a place where the heavens are quiet, your emotions are up and down, your spirit feels stretched, but you're still here, still standing, still believing, and God sees that. He sees how you didn't fold under the pressure, how you didn't curse Him in the drought, how you didn't give up when the road got rough. He sees that, and He says, "That one, I trust them." You thought you needed another word, another sign, another confirmation, but what you needed was already spoken. And now the silence is not your defeat, it's your diploma. It's God saying, you've passed the test of faith. You're not led by feelings anymore, you're anchored in truth. The silence is not a void, it's a victory. Remember Job, God was silent while Job lost everything, his wealth, his health, his family, and yet Job said, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. That's the kind of faith that makes hell tremble. Faith that doesn't need evidence. Faith that doesn't waver when the skies go quiet. Faith that says, even when I don't hear you, I'll still follow you. Don't let the enemy convince you that silence means rejection. Don't let the devil lie to you and tell you that God walked away. No, God is closer than ever, watching how you respond when the volume drops. The silence is the training ground for warriors. The silence is where kings and queens are shaped. The silence is for the trusted, so lift your head. Dry your tears. Walk forward even if you hear nothing, because every step you take in silence is a statement of trust. And when the silence breaks, and it will, you'll realize that God wasn't ignoring you. He was applauding you. He was proud of you. He was saying, I trust you with silence because I see strength in your spirit. There are moments in life when it feels like everything has gone dark. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've believed, and yet all you see is silence. Doors remain closed. Answers are delayed. Healing hasn't come, and you start to wonder if the story is over. But let me speak this into your spirit today. The silence is not the ending. It's the setup, because when God finally moves, there will be greater glory on the other side. See, God doesn't just bring you out, He brings you out better. He doesn't just answer your prayer, He exceeds it. He doesn't just meet your expectation, He shatters it. But before that kind of glory shows up, there's almost always a season of silence, a pause, a holding pattern. And if you're not careful, you'll misinterpret that silence as God's no, when really it's His wait for it. Let's talk about Lazarus. They sent for Jesus while he was still sick. They asked Him to come. They believed He would heal. But instead of coming immediately, Jesus waited. He waited, and by the time He showed up, Lazarus wasn't just sick, he was dead. Buried, wrapped, sealed in a tomb, and the people said, it's too late now. But they didn't know it was never too late for God. In fact, the delay was part of the demonstration. If Jesus had come when they wanted, He would have healed a sick man. But because He waited, He resurrected a dead one. There was greater glory in the resurrection than there ever could have been in the healing. That silence, that delay, that grief, it was not pointless. It was purposeful, because what God was about to do required a situation that looked impossible. Some of you are standing in front of sealed tombs right now. Dreams that look dead. Marriages that feel buried. Hopes you've wrapped in linen and left behind. But what you thought was over is not over. What you thought God denied, He's about to resurrect. And when He does, it won't just bless you, it will blow the minds of everyone around you. Because when God brings you back from what others gave up on, that's glory. You see, God is not just trying to meet your need, He's trying to reveal His nature. He wants people to see His power, His timing, His goodness, not just in the easy moments, but in the dead places. The places where man can't fix it, the places where logic runs out. That's where God steps in and says, "Now watch what I can do." So don't curse the silence. Don't lose heart in the waiting. Something is growing under the ground. Something is moving behind the veil. God is setting the stage for a glory that's greater than your grief, a power greater than your pain, a testimony greater than your trial. When He moves, and He will, it will be worth every silent second.